afternoon. My name is Carlie. Today I will be talking to you about the price of free and reduced lunch across the board. School lunches are a necessity to all children and should not be denied to them because a parent forgets to give them school lunch money one day. A system that allows parents to log on to their own account to check their child's funds should be set in place, or school lunch fees should cease as a whole to ensure that children are not worried and anxious about being embarrassed at school one day because they don't have lunch money. The percent of children receiving free and reduced lunch is often used to calculate the number of people living in poverty in an area. Today I will be discussing the pros and cons of providing free school lunches across the board. People often ask, how much money does the state spend in free and reduced lunches each year? In 1946, the National School Lunch Act created the National School Lunch Program, as stated by the USDA. The one and basically only con that I found regarding free and reduced price lunches was the price that each state has to spend each year on lunches. In 2008, the USDA spent $8.3 billion to provide free and reduced lunches to 30.6 million children whose families were at or below a 130% poverty level. That's roughly $26,845 per family of four. The National School Lunch Program also provided children whose families were at a 130% to 185% meals with reduced prices. A newspaper article titled "The National School Lunch Program: Pros and Cons on How to Get Your Children Eating Healthier" stated that the National School Lunch Program provides meals to over 21 million low-income, food insecure children around the country. The National School Lunch Program also provides per meal reimbursements as a right to provide each child with a nutritious meal. A website article by Food and Research Action Center titled "National School Lunch Programs" stated that schools also receive agricultural commodities, which are unprocessed or partially processed foods, as a supplement to the cash per meal reimbursement in amounts based on the number of meals that they serve each year. USDA research showed that children that participated in school lunch had a much higher nutritional intake than those that do not. The National School Lunch Program provides children with 1/3 or more of their recommended daily dietary allowance. As you see behind me, I have our new food pyramid, which shows the amount of grains, whole grain, or vegetables, fruit, milk, and meat and beans that you should consume each day. And most of these children who don't receive free or reduced lunch go without these because their families can't provide for them. In the fiscal year 2012, the National School Lunch Program cost $11.6 billion. Fiscal year 2012, more than 31.6 billion children received a lunch daily through the National School Lunch Program, which was nutritious. From a journal titled "Not Just for Poor Kids: The Impact of Universal Free School Breakfast on meal participant and School Outcomes," stated that the universal free breakfast may reduce the stigma that school breakfast is only for poor children. Oftentimes, whenever children go into lunch early for school, many people perceive it to be because they can't eat at home. That their parents can't provide them breakfast at home, so they're at school early to ensure that they get a healthy, nutritious meal to help them throughout the day. Free breakfast could also have a secondary academic effect. Free lunch gives parents an incentive to make sure that their children are at school on time and remain there the entire day. If you're in line for a school meal, there's a pretty good chance that you're getting your free lunch, as stated by John Saunders. John Saunders, a high school wellness director, stated for a school campaign article that many children, especially at the high school level, will go without lunch as they don't want to be seen in line to avoid the stigma that only poor children eat from the cafeteria. In this campaign, he wrote that at a high school level, he went outside and there was three high schoolers sitting outside, and only one of them was eating a piece of pizza from the cafeteria line and the other two weren't eating because they were embarrassed and ashamed to go inside and eat lunch from the school. A food resource and action study found that low-income students, who were the focus of the National School Lunch Policy, are receiving more benefits from the new law. The USDA reports that 95% of schools have been able to meet the program requirements. While there is a stigma associated with free lunches, a program should be implemented throughout school districts to ensure that no child is embarrassed by having to eat a bag lunch or peanut butter and jelly sandwich amongst their peers when they are without money. Oftentimes when these children go into school and they don't have money, they have a certain amount of days that they're allowed to go without bringing money in, but once they hit that max, they're given a bag, they're taken to the back of the cafeteria, given a bag lunch, and that's, you can tell whenever that happens, whenever all of your friends have a tray outside at the cafeteria at their lunch table, and you come from the back and have a bag lunch or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And a lot of children will just not eat because they don't want to go through that embarrassment. In my hometown, we have a program called the Backpack Plan, which for the children who are in poverty and the families don't have much food. Each Friday, these children are sent home with a book bag full of food, like canned foods, things that they can eat, so that way over the weekend they're not starving. Thank you for your time.